Hello, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation. I'm here with my co-host.
And good morning, everyone. I am Bonni Snyder.
We want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in again. Of course, we always like to, at the very beginning, thank John and Rob with WeBeam TV for giving us this opportunity, and so that we can bring some hope and information and all sorts of things to you. And if you want to support us, you can certainly do that. You can go to our Kindness webpage, where there's all sorts of levels of donations you can choose from, or there's a spot in there somewhere where you can choose the amount that you want to donate. It would be very helpful. We're getting into some crazy times because we're hopefully going to be moving the studio here shortly, and a lot of really exciting things are going to start to happen, and we're really excited about that. So we had an awesome show last week.
Oh, my goodness, did we ever. If you missed last week's show, please go back and watch it. Rod was amazing.
Yeah, it'll be available on YouTube. It was an awesome hour.
All right, so we need a part two. We're looking for a part two on that.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
amazing.
I think we should have him back. I know he's just a wealth of information.
Tammy, if I could for a minute, let's because I'm excited. We have a guest with us today too.
Yes, we do have a guest today.
But I want to back up just for a minute. As we're talking about fundraisers and whatnot, one thing we didn't talk about was our T-shirts. And what I'm finding interesting about today is we have, you have your models in the studio here. Both styles of the T-shirt. We have.
Yeah, you're wearing the crew neck. I'm wearing the V-neck.
Yes, I like crew necks, but I like the how the crew neck feels. It's the woman's.
It's
cut.
a little bit more fitted,
Yeah.
than the regular crew neck, but we're going to have a second choice available here shortly
Our
too.
new design,
Yeah, and I'm
yes.
excited about that one too. So, but you can either you can click on that QR code right there, and you can go. It'll take you to the webpage. If you're local, you can order it online. And if you're local, you can pick it up at Gulfside Custom T-shirts. If you're not local, they'll send it wherever you are. And we do have some in inventory at the foundation office also. So you can get a hold of me at the foundation office, either phone, email, text, however you want to. So anyway, so do we want to get into our guests so that we have plenty of time? Because we almost ran out of time last time.
We do want to get into our guest today. Oh my gosh, there are so many things I can say about our guest today. Our guest today is Tony Casa. And I met Tony through, my work. And we started out, kind of like how you and I work. We started out as colleagues. Just two people working in the community, and that working relationship managed to take itself into a direction to where we're more than just two people working in the community. We've become personal friends. So let me give you a little bit of Tony's bio and bring him on. Tony has distinguished himself as a local youth advocate. He holds his bachelor's degrees in criminal justice and a master's in human services counseling. Tony's also an ordained minister and a social media personality. He enjoys community theater, writing, online content creation. He's appeared on several radio programs in the past to speak out on political and social issues of interest. Tony also founded, and he's the president of Youth Haven Ministries, and we'll let him talk about that a little bit, which until COVID-19 happened was this area's only free, okay, I'm going to say that, free youth center as a place for all youth to feel welcome and accepted regardless of race, gender, creed, social economic, SES status, or their sexual orientation. He's currently working on a new venture, which is called Project 21, which will share insights on the historical Jesus and his teachings in modern day context, along with advocating for youth within the community and opening, his goal is to open a new youth center. So with that, we welcome, our guest, Tony Casa. Hey, Tony, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, Tony, we are thrilled to have you. You know, as we have processed through, like those of us in our field, and what we all do, there are certain awareness months and different demographics of groups that, we talk about as we're looking at mental health, suicide, and what we focus on the show. And as we're going to have Tony bring, perspective, like, we had Rod on last week, who gave us, a perspective from, the Black and African American community. Tony is going to, we're going to focus a lot on another demographic. And Tony, I'll let you share, a little bit about yourself and the demographic that we're going to talk about. And I think it's also important to note that Tony is a mental health, like he does counseling. That's what he does. So Tony, if you would, could you tell our audience, like, who is Tony Casa?
Well, I like to say it best as, and I don't like titles very much. Some people say Pastor Tony, some people say a lot of things, Some people identify themselves by different things. I'm just Tony. I am a Christian. I'm a mental health therapist. I'm a youth advocate. I also happen to be LGBTQ. And I love theater and writing, as I said, and a lot of other different things. I'm very politically motivated, libertarian. There's no one aspect of any of us. And I really think it's a tragedy today that people take one part of themselves and they make it to be everything, where people label them that way. We're all very complex, unique, social, spiritual, emotional, physical human beings.
And Tony, that you shared, that you are part of the LGBTQ community. I think, having someone, that could represent, the demographic of LGBTQ, because, as we talk about, suicide and mental health, and just we can go down a list of a lot of things as it relates to. And I hate to call things, characterize things as that demographic, but for lack of a better word, this particular population, if you think about a study that was done by the Trevor Project, and Tony, I'm sure you're familiar with the Trevor Project, yes. That according to the Trevor Project, 40% of LGBTQ individuals have contemplated suicide. That's almost half. So, Tony, if we could, start off the discussion with, if you can, educate our audience on, what you know of the Trevor Project and the fact that such a high percentage of individuals in the LGBTQ plus community contemplate suicide.
Well, I've heard a lot of good things about the Trevor Project. Number one, I've never dealt with them individually. I am so sorry.
That's okay. Hi there.
You ham. He just decided to be a ham there. So the Trevor Project, I've referred a lot of youth to it. It does a lot of good work, along with Lady Gaga, I might add. It does a lot of good work for the LGBTQ community and youth. And sometimes that's the only thing standing between life or death between some of these young people. Now, I don't have the statistics for you or anything like that. Perhaps I should have done my homework, but I can tell you that nobody wakes up one day and says, oh, I want to be gay, or I want to be transgendered, or anything. And where that comes from is just ludicrous. And the suicide aspect of it and the depression is you're fighting against something that you don't want to be. Nobody wants to be in a minority to begin with. Everybody likes to be in the majority. That's why people go with the flow and, things like that. Nobody wants to be a minority, let alone when that minority is labeled that there's something wrong with you. Even today, I've had some very interesting conversations. I like trolling people. I got to confess, I like trolling people. So one of the things that I trolled some people in my own community, LGBTQ, on is, why are you saying you're born that way? And I did it for a reaction, and of course I got outraged. But the point is, if there's nothing wrong with it to begin with, why does it matter? And see, that's a very real feeling for any LGBTQ person. There is something wrong with me. Then there's a process of coming out. People, and here's something not known about coming out. Not everybody, people have this image of somebody waving a pride flag, I'm out and about. That's not the way it is. I can tell you half the people that know me do not know I'm LGBTQ. So there's different levels to coming out and different ways that people handle that and come to that terms of acceptance. But even after you've come to that acceptance, there's that thought of, I shouldn't be this way. There's something wrong with me, and there's no way out. And anybody that knows anything about suicide and mental health knows that that's that very feeling, that hopelessness, that feeling of being cornered, that leads somebody to take their own life.
So, Tony, you talked about identity and coming out, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong, I just heard you say that there are people who don't know that you're in the LGBTQ community. And I'm going to presume, or would I be wrong in presuming that that's by choice? And, what is wrong with acknowledging, who you are? This is the same thing like, for me saying, I can't hide that I'm a person of color. It's like, here it is. It's right here in your face. It's me. You can't hide, Tammy, that you're not a person of color. You're Caucasian.
No,
you can't hide this. But what I find sometimes, when it's in the realm of LGBTQ, I have some people that, and if you could speak to some of the terms that, people throw out, I had my gaydar on, and I could tell the minute I was in this person's presence that they were gay. And, I was like, no, I know this person, they're not. Or, okay, that person is, so what? So, yeah, what is it? It's almost like, I can't be I guess I could, and at times where I question, why do I have to be this person of color? Why can't, to your point, why can't I be in the majority? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, and I think it's a different perspective. See, a lot of people, there's an old saying, he who speaks loudest wears the fattest crown. The people that are the loudest and most vocal get all the attention and set the stage for the view of the community. Like many communities, the LGBTQ plus community is very varied in views. So I'm of a perspective that you don't hear very often. That perspective is, I don't know when it came up in our conversation, Bonni, I can't remember that I was gay or whatever, but I certainly didn't introduce myself as, hi, I'm Tony, I'm gay. And I don't want that to be the first thing people know about me. I want to be known for who I am, okay? So to me, that's just a part of me. It's not something I'm hiding, because obviously I wouldn't be on this radio show if I was hiding it. So I'm not hiding it or not disclosing it. If it comes up in conversation and it's relevant, then I tell about it. For instance, in my work as a counselor, I had disclosed it to one youth who happened to be LGBTQ because that was part of relationship building. But I don't start off my conversations with parents or families, "Hi, I'm Tony, I'm LGBTQ." And I'm not knocking anybody that does that. Oh, there's my other pet. Sorry. But to me, I want to be known for who I am. And I want you to accept me as LGBTQ, but I don't want you to see that as that's the only thing I am. It's one aspect of many. And I believe that's important to our wholeness and our mental health. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense because, I like what you said, and you're right. When you and I met for the very first time, when we were, discussing doing groups at your center, no, you didn't look at me and it's like, "Hi, Bonni, I'm Tony, I'm gay." And I think with that, it brings something to light. The same way, I don't, when I'm introducing myself to people, "Hi, I'm Bonni, I'm biracial." Or,
Right.
"Hi, I'm, or, "Hey, I'm Bonni, I'm single." It's, but what I find is with certain, demographics, it becomes how do I want to put this? A descriptor, a negative descriptor.
Right.
It's like, why can't I just be Bonni? Why do I have to be, or I have some people look at me, like I said, I'm biracial, but people see me, I identify as biracial, not black. But I mean, how many times, do I hear people say, "That's my black friend, Bonni. That's my gay friend, Tony." Why can't it just be, "That's my friend, Tony. That's my friend, Bonni. That's my white friend,
Exactly.
Tony." So I think when we start putting these labels on people to like, if I think back when I was in the military, for instance, being LGBTQ in the military, at least, back when I was in before the days of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, that was a career ender. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was, out, hanging out with a friend of mine who was, he was gay. I knew he was gay, but I would never tell command, "Oh, by the way, this guy is gay and we need to do something about him." But we went out one time, and the whole night as he was introducing me to his friends, he was like, "This is my friend Bonni, she's straight. This is my friend Bonni, she's straight. This is my friend Bonni, she's straight." And I was like, "Why can't you just say this is," I mean, I understood what he was doing. Is, people were like, "I want you to understand that this is my friend, but she's not into," and Tony, this is kind of a segue into our next topic, "she's not into lifestyle." And, Tony, you understand? Yeah, I know you understand, in discussions that we've had, why I'm doing that quote. She's not in a lifestyle, So for me, if my friend would have said, "Hey, this is my friend Bonni," and someone's like, "Oh, well," I would have looked at him and said, "No, I'm heterosexual. I'm hanging out with my friend." His name was Randy. I said, I'm here with Randy, meeting his friends, So, but I'm not in the lifestyle. So, Tony, speak to us about that. And I call it a label, and sometimes I think it is a discriminatory label of sorts about the lifestyle.
Okay. So I was about to bring up something very personal, but let me be fair about this first and give an overview. Some people do make being gay into a lifestyle. I have some good friends that you can't have a conversation without talking to them about LGBTQ issues and pride and, the flags everywhere. I just went to a church and it was an affirming, accepting church. And then I had two LGBTQ people tell me, "You'll love it here. We're going to put the pride flags up here and there and all." And it's like, some people do make it into a lifestyle where they identify as that. They outwardly show that. They are, quote, into pride and everything else, and they make that their whole identity. Now, I'm not criticizing that in any way. That's just not me. Like I said, it's a broad community, like every community. You paint a broad stroke. Not everybody fits into the same area. However, conservative Christians, including my own flesh and blood brother, love to use the term gay lifestyle and knock it. And, I asked my brother, what the hell do you mean lifestyle? I have been, and this is very personal because he just accused me just a week or two ago, I'm hiding my fiance, Kiko. We've been together 11 years. Anybody who knows me knows about Kiko, okay? I'm not hiding the fact that I'm engaged. I'm not hiding the fact that I'm in a relationship with him. But if you want to know about our lifestyle, he's working right now. I took off work just to do the show. We work 8 hours a day. We have a dog and 3 cats, little kitten we just got, we have 2 cars. We live in a home together. We go to church on Sundays. Sometimes we go out to eat dinner. That doesn't sound like a lifestyle to me. Like, what do people even mean by that? It's meant as some derogatory term. The gay lifestyle, like we're all out some club partying night and day and things. And in fact, statistically speaking, LGBTQ couples, and I don't have the statistic to back me up, so forgive me, but I've heard that LGBTQ couples actually stay together longer nowadays than actual straight couples. So there's no, quote, lifestyle of immorality here. We're just living, breathing, free-thinking human beings like everybody else. Most of us just want to live our lives and go to work and do what we do. There's a lot of us adopting kids right now. That's really big right now with gay couples like myself wanting to do something more and wanting to have a family and taking in kids. So for people on the outside to come and say, your lifestyle, I mean, I was just called a sodomite and an antichrist and told I shouldn't be even claiming to be associated with Christianity by my own brother. I mean, that's hurtful. And these are the reasons. I'm not gonna hold any punches. These are the reasons you have kids still killing themselves. I mean, this is one of the big reasons that LGBTQ youth commit suicide, is that rejection and that lack of acceptance when they have nobody to turn to.
And if you remember from our last week's show, Rod talked about that rejection. Like there's
rejection,
2 of those tenets that Rod talked about last week. And Tony, going back this whole, and I get it, the whole lifestyle and, what is there, why is there a difference between, LGBTQ and whatnot? When you were talking a minute ago, you talked about adoption, that, a lot of, LGBTQ couples are looking at adoption. And I have no problem sharing. I have 2 grandchildren who have 2 dads. So their dads are, in a long-term relationship. I can't think of how long these 2 have been together. But I remember with my granddaughter, it was when they bought her home. Her dad, her dad, Greg, I was like Greg, made the comment, we almost had our quote unquote gay card pulled because we had children, because we adopted. I'm looking, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then, I had people question me like, wait a minute, this is your granddaughter? But she has, she has 2 fathers. Like, you're going to allow her to be raised in that, in that lifestyle, in that, like suddenly there was this thing that her dads were, going to corrupt her. She's going to end up being, lesbian. And then when they subsequently adopted her brother, again, it was like, wow, now they were really going to get their gay cards pulled because now they have 2 children. And there's this concern about, well, now you have a little boy who, he's going to be converted to being gay because he has 2 dads. And I'm like, that's the most absurd thing I ever heard. But I'm like, you're kidding me. Like, no, we almost got our gay card pulled because we have children. Do you find that? I mean, how often, Tony, do you find that, or how do you address that when you hear, people like yourself? I've heard you say, I want to have a family one day, but wait a minute, you can't be truly gay if you want children.
Well, I mean, I could do this one of two ways. I guess I'll go with the light side first. Okay. I don't know if you guys have heard of the gay uncle theory, but I love it. And, because people like to talk about evolution and how this could happen, with evolution and stuff. And there's this crazy theory that I love that basically the reason evolution allows for it is because gay people have that time and energy to devote to the children that do get neglected by the parents or are too busy or whatever. And let me tell you, I know Kiko, he spoils his nieces and nephews rotten completely. And he's the epitome of that theory. But also, yes, gay men have that time, that intention. There are some stereotypes that I find very true. The sensitivity, the personality, to be more feminine, quote unquote, sometimes, to be able to do that and nurture. And, yes, we are built biologically with, we're built, I believe, by a creator, okay? And we have certain things indwelt within us. One of those is to take care of others and recreate, to repopulate. So it doesn't matter whether you're gay or straight or whatever, that is a desire of every human being to give back to the next generation. And I think that is a very important aspect of it. Yes, gay men, right now, I mean, things are changing scientifically, cannot, quote, have children. And, I've talked to a lot of Christians about that who condemn me for my sexual orientation and my, quote, lifestyle, and they talk about how God's going to judge me. And I'm like, do you think I'm having a cakewalk now? I'm an Italian Roman Catholic, but that's my birth. So to be from a New York, okay, both my parents are from New York, Italian Roman Catholic, and not have produced children at the age of, oh, we won't go there. but that itself, yeah, that's a pain, knowing, oh, I can't do that, So that's a judgment in itself. But there's no reason why I can't and why gay couples can't give back in other ways. I mean, the time I spend as a counselor and as a youth pastor and with the teen center and doing all those things is time I wouldn't have actually if I had a family of my own, quite honestly. And that's just the reality of it. I can give more because I have more time to give because I don't have a biological child of my own.
Nice. Yeah, we talk a little bit about lifestyle and rejection and, some of the challenges. You're also an ordained minister. And, you have this ministry. I found, and correct me if I'm wrong, a uniqueness with Youth Haven because there was something about the ministry that you were doing that had a unique connection, if that's the word I want to use, to the LGBT community. Do you know what I'm talking about, or do you want me to elaborate more?
I can elaborate plenty. I was kind of holding off. I know we're on a time frame here. There were people that made threats to the center, that stalked it, that tried to get it shut down, that wrote the Newport Richey City Council, the congressman made threats. Were all over social media posting that we were child molesters and we were indoctrinating children over there. We lost a lot of support. They were going to picket us at one point where the Newport, we had to have the police on speed dial protecting us from these people, just because the beginning program of the Teen Center happened to be a support group for LGBTQ kids run by Denise Johnson, who is a friend of mine just like yours, and who is a transgender woman with a heart of gold for the community. And she saw we were trying something good there for all kids, and it would be a safe place for LGBTQ kids. So she agreed with Florida Trans Proud to run an LGBTQ support group for me at the center. And because of that, all of a sudden we were labeled child molesters and that we were corrupting children, and they did YouTube videos and everything. We had people videoing the center and stalking it. It was bad, just because we were not agreeing or pushing any lifestyle. What we were doing was giving kids a safe place to go. And that is the work of God. That God is love, it says. And Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself, and love the least. So I was living out the gospel and following Jesus, not because I'm LGBT. I would have done it whether I was LGBTQ or not, honestly, because that's my view of God and that's my view of the gospel. A place for all kids, straight, not straight, black, white, transgendered. It was going to be a safe, welcoming place for all kids, no matter who they were, the jock, the stoner, whatever, just whoever they were. And even that got me into trouble because people said that I was labeling kids. I wasn't trying to label kids. I was saying this is a place for everyone. Despite who you are, what you're doing outside of here, this is a place for you to come, feel welcome, and accepted.
I think that's important. I mean, that, in itself, because again, if we go back to, the beginning of the segment, we talked about the, whether, contemplated or, completed suicide rates among LGBTQ youth, especially when we're talking, youth. I mean, youth in particular. We hear about, the community, you talked about bullying, you talked about the labels that goes along with, someone who is, and I want to say in the lifestyle, but, that's in that community. I don't want my child around this person because they're gay, they're going to, molest
That's like
them.
that, or it's going to rub off on him, or it's
Yeah.
it's a sad stigma. Again, and I had been to Tony's youth center a couple times and spoke with him, and we were going to do some programs, geared
Right.
towards teen suicide and prevention and stuff. And what he had there, our community needed desperately for kids in that age group, and it being free. Because a lot of the kids in our community, they don't have the resources to go to the rec center or whatever else is available, and everybody could go to Youth Haven, and it was free, and classes, art classes, counseling, whatever was available to these kids.
If I might share a story, because I know we're on time, what the center did with suicide. I had one LGBTQ youth. Of course, I'm not going to mention their name. I'll go with they as the pronoun. I got a letter from them after they had gone from the center for a while, and then they came back, and attached was their suicide note. And they said, I knew I couldn't tell you or say anything to you because you're a counselor and we know all about your reporting requirements and everything. Before I walked in the door, I had my suicide plan ready, and here was the note. I want you to know this stopped me from doing it. And that's the impact it had. Now, nobody indoctrinated that person, said it was okay. All we did was provide a place for recreation. That's it. A judgment-free zone, one way or the other. And that made that difference in that kid's life between life and death. Now, Sims Park here in Newport Richey, there's 20 to 30 kids hanging out at that park now. And I overhear the conversations, I listen in about being Baker acted and this and that. We are in a real epidemic. COVID has made it worse with kids and suicide right now. And it's not getting better, unfortunately. And the Baker Act system, in my personal view, is overwhelmed right now with it. We are seeing this crisis grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, for LGBTQ youth, especially transgender youth, that's just magnified tenfold. Because they're already dealing with all these other issues of adolescence, but hating themselves possibly, or being rejected and having no hope and not having anyone to care.
I don't know how many times I've heard youth, that I've worked with, again, on my, my other life, talk about, those very things, not having somebody to talk to, the stigma, and the struggle, again, going back to, identity. Um, I remember working with one youth who, was trans, and it was at home. Um, Parents refused to refer to this individual by the name that, they identified with. It was an insistence to call them by the name that, they give me. I didn't name you, I didn't name you this. I named you that, and I'm going to call you that. And it's like, how do we, help them deal with all of the different layers that come along with, whether it's, coming out or, dealing with, sexual, with identity, and, especially sexual identity. Tony, you talked about, within your family when, you were presuming now that, your family knows that you are, part of the community. Um, I hear from some parents, when they acknowledge or, someone comes out and says, hey, mom, dad, I'm LGBTQ. The parents feel like they're a failure, or they're being punished. What did I do as a parent to deserve this? Um, oh my gosh, my child is broken. Let's take them. Let's take them to church and throw some extra holy water on them and get this demon out of them. Can you speak to that a little bit, Tony, as far as, not only as, someone coming out, but when, you have parents that, where have I failed?
I can, and it comes back to the level of coming out. Like I said, there's different levels. Okay. My parents and I are on one step below don't ask, don't tell status, to be honest. Okay? Because when they originally found out about it, I mean, living with a guy will do that, my mom took a fit and said it was killing my dad. Now, they're in their 80s, so I make a personal choice. I don't say anything about it to them, but what they do is they have Kiko, my fiance, over all the time. How's Kiko? Da-da-da. So there's this weird thing, and I don't know if it's unique to my family or not, that there's an acknowledgement and acceptance of it as long as I don't talk about it. It's like they pretend he's female or something. And now don't misunderstand. I do that because I'm a Christian myself, and I believe in honoring your father and mother. Okay? So if something's going to cause my parents pain, even if it's prejudicial pain or aggravation, I don't want to make life difficult for my parents who are in their 80s in the last years of their life. I feel that that's out of honor and respect to them, but I think I'm old-fashioned like that. That's the thing. Now, my own brother, though, I've gotten into vicious debates with. He just sent me like pages of text, like I said, calling me a sodomite, a gay lifestyle, and really, really hurtful stuff, to the point where he said I'm an antichrist. I have no right saying I'm a Christian or a minister, and a lot of other really bad stuff I won't mention on the air, all filled with hate, all taken out of context from the Bible, I might add. In my personal view. And it was so hurtful, I had to get a counselor myself. I'm a therapist. And I had to go to a counselor in the past couple of weeks to deal with the hurt and the depression of someone telling me that my whole purpose in life, which is I feel to preach the gospel to kids and tell them about Jesus and make a difference, isn't valid. That I'm not validated by God, and there's something wrong with me. And if I don't change, I'm done for.
And and we do find that there are individuals who like yourself. I'm in that don't ask, don't tell category. I am who I am. I'm just going to talk about it. I'm not going to make it the center of conversations. At the same time, there are individuals who it is in your face. Yes. I have a family member, who is, LGBTQ, and makes no bones about talking explicitly what they, what, and I'm going to use the word, I'm going to use this term loosely, mind you, what their lifestyle entails. And it's like, as a matter of fact, Patrick, he got into a bit of a disagreement, where Patrick was like, I don't have an issue with you being gay. I just don't want to hear about it. I'll defend you if somebody has an issue, saying something about you being gay. I don't want to hear. And I had to think about that for a moment, because it became one of, why is it difficult that concepts or belief systems or things that we talk about for straight couples are suddenly different for gay couples. Like, for example, I mean, mind you, I say it jokingly, but I'm deathly serious. I'm single. I'm not in a relationship. However, if I were in a relationship, I don't think it's anybody's business what I and my significant other do behind closed doors. So I'm not going to go and say, oh, me and so, we had a great time, yesterday afternoon, last evening, and whatnot. But Tony, how do you address that? It's seen, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but sometimes I feel that people look at it as, well, as a heterosexual individual, I'm not going to tell you about what I'm doing with my partner. Why do gay people have to talk about it all the time? We do say that. Back up. I've heard on both sides. But can you talk about that stigma or that stereotype of, you just want us to know what you got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. We talked before the air about this for saying this. I think it's as wrong as the straight people do. I really do. I honestly, personally, I got a problem with it. I don't understand why. I was, you see some of the kids, even the LGBT kids, walking around school with the flag and capes and stuff. It's like, okay, at least those are kids, but why adults do it? I don't understand. Like I told you, why can't you just have your relationship, be like everybody else? Why does anybody need to know your orientation? Now, I've been rebutted on that by a lot of very close friends because of all we've been through, because of all these haters and things like that. But see, my perspective is very different. It breeds more hate. But by you pushing it out, that just gives the haters more excuse to say, see, this is why we're doing it. And I think sexual identity, I think progress will be made when nobody says, that's my black friend, that's my gay friend, that's this and that, when we're all just human beings and children of God. I've had to step in at the teen center, for instance. I'll give you a classic example. I had two LGBTQ kids. One of them was a bisexual male. They were both in the support group, right? And he used a lot of words. I won't use it on the air, slang words. One of them was a derogatory term for lesbians, and he just used it as part of his vocabulary. And there was a young lady who was LGBTQ who got very, very offended that he said that. But it wasn't said to her. It was said to somebody else in a private conversation. Should he have been using the word? No. But they wanted me to suspend him from the center for using that word because it was offensive to them. And I said, no. And they wound up leaving the center because they said it wasn't a safe place anymore because they didn't like that I would allow him his freedom to speak in a private conversation as LGBTQ. When we trample on the rights of others and when we push things on other people, to me, that sets us back years. There is no reason why we can't just be who we are, not ashamed of it, but not announce it to the world. As a Christian, I don't participate in pride, not because I'm anti-LGBTQ, but as a Christian, I value humility. Jesus said, be humble. So the whole concept of being proud about a sexual orientation is foreign to me. I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm not proud of it either. It's just part of who I am. Now, what I have seen too in my work is this can go the other route with LGBTQ kids. I've seen them be very affected because the only issue is the transition or I'm LGBTQ. And they are kids that have pre-existing issues of depression or molestation and other things that are never addressed because they only want to address that. And you have to deal with the mental health issues and then be comfortable with your identity. Or I found other kids that they're so with their identity focused on what the magazine looks like. I'm not LGBTQ enough, or I'm not manly enough, or I'm not woman enough, that it becomes depression to them, and then they get more suicidal. That at first it's all about love and acceptance, but then they are trying to fit themselves into some preconceived image of who they think they should be, and that leads to more depression.
Let me ask you a question, Tony, because you were talking about, the different topics. And this is another one of those hot button questions that comes up a lot.
Uh-oh.
Is being LGBTQ a choice? Tony, are you gay by choice? Like, Tony, you just choose to be gay. You're really straight, but for whatever reason, you just are choosing to be gay.
I think that's one of the dumbest things in the world that people say. That's why I'm laughing. Based on my own experience, based on the science. No, they haven't proven there's a gay gene or anything yet. That always gets thrown in our face. This is something, if you ask any LGBTQ person, if they wish they were, they would say no. Okay, this is not something we don't choose our preferences. Okay, however, here's the however. We choose whether or not to act on them. And that is possible. I love coffee. Both my parents drank coffee. I'm a coffee fanatic. But I can choose to abstain from coffee if I want. But nobody's going to tell me that I wasn't born loving coffee. I was born a coffee lover. I am prone to coffee. Put coffee and tea in front of me. I love coffee. It's who I am. However, if there's not a choice aspect, if it's just no different than coffee and tea, if there's nothing wrong with it, why is there such a problem with saying it's a choice too? I mean, I don't understand that, because to imply you're born this way and there's no choice in it puts us to a disease model, like alcoholism or something. Oh, I can't help myself. There's something wrong. If you really believe there's nothing wrong with the choice and the preference you have, then why does it matter whether you're born that way or not? It's who you are. Do what you want as long as you're not harming anyone. That's what I say. Why can't we all just not be concerned about who's in the bedroom, who's not, whether it's a choice or preference, and just live our lives respecting and loving each other?
And I remember many years ago, I have a couple cousins that are gay. One is younger. She's a second cousin. And I remember the older cousin, she's still much younger than me, when the family found out that she was gay. And I remember back then, and this was many years ago, many people in our family, saying, oh, she's choosing to be this way. She's acting out. She's choosing to be this way. And her and her wife, they've been together for many years, and they're just like us. I mean, just like, Bobby and I. And then many years later, when my second cousin, and her wife was in the military, I believe. She was really young. She was in her late teens, 20 years old, I think, when they got married. They have two beautiful children. And again, their family is just like us. But the difference in the family acceptance is much different with the second cousin than the older one. And it's, I think it is, it was the time. Like I said, with Nikki, it was many years ago. But I could see the difference in how different family members reacted at different times, at different stages.
Yeah, it's whether it's, families or, even, friendships, but that family aspect is,
Well, the family aspect, I think, it's really strong, especially at the acceptance and rejection. You know, like even with you, Tony, and your brother. I mean, that's your own brother, and
Yeah.
That's one of your first and closest relationships. You know, and that's just really hard.
I mean, I remember my nephew, he's, in his mid-20s now, I want to say. I remember when he first, was thinking about coming out. There were certain family members that he was very comfortable, talking with as he went through the struggle of, do I come out? Do I finally acknowledge this is who I am? And, I'm thankful, I guess. I'm very, I consider myself an open-minded individual. That I was one of those people that, I want to come out, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what, the family's going to think. I'm afraid of rejection. He's afraid that his grandmother was going to, be one that was really going to reject him. And, it's a very, close-knit relationship there. And I did find it interesting, to your point about, family members, how certain family members, embraced him, hey, guy, be who you are, and not let it, not let it affect you. Don't care, why do you care about what other people are saying about you? Within my family, I look at, Carl's children, two of his daughters, are lesbian. And we're like, you get any grandkids from those? But then and that's kind of it's like a joke. But even with that joke of, well, I guess we're not getting grandchildren from that, those two, we have to, I felt myself taking a step back, and it's like where we, and, even they joke about, I'm not having babies, and we're like, okay, you're not having babies because, you're lesbians. We understand that you're not going to have children, but are you? And to that stigma of, or, that fine line between, are we being stigmatizing and discriminatory, or bullying because you're getting grandkids from you? But at the same time, is it let's lighten up, this discussion around, embracing who a person is? So, Tony, in our last few minutes here, can I do a countdown here? If you were to have a message to, a LGBTQ, individual, and we're going to, just say across, all spectrums, whether it's a youth or an adult, or, those of us in the, the straight community who might be struggling with understanding LGBTQ, what would you say to them?
Wow, you must have read my mind, Bonni. I would say to them, I'm going to put my pastor hat on here, okay? God loves you. It says in the Bible, God is love. If you believe in a higher power, and we'll leave it at higher power, okay? Then God loves you. If you're hearing hate, like in the terms of me with my brother, I had a hard time realizing it. That's not God speaking. If the person's a pastor, they say they're a Christian, whatever, Jesus Christ himself, that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels, the red letters, don't let anybody tell you Jesus was against homosexuality. Jesus didn't talk about it one way or the other. He didn't have an LGBTQ flag. He didn't say I bless gay marriage, but he did not condemn it. He did not address this one way or the other. You can follow Jesus. You can have comfort believing you are a child of God and still be who you are. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying you are accepted and loved by God. And anybody telling you otherwise is not speaking for God.
And he, like you said, I'm putting on my pastor hat. Um, Tony, Tony, this has been a very, informative, um, and in some cases, kind of a raw discussion. Because, like some of the topics that we do address here on the show, they are those difficult conversations to have because people tend to run from, certain topics because it's either, stigmatizing or I don't understand it. I don't want to accept it. It doesn't exist. If I don't talk about it, it makes it not real. That elephant in the room that nobody wants to face. So we appreciate you being uh, a venue, a vehicle, to highlight this topic, and for being so personal about it.
Well, thank you both for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Tony. You really did put a light on this, and at a time that it's really needed, especially for the youth and teen suicide. And we want to thank you for everything that you do in the community here also. So, again, if anybody is in crisis, we have the hotline numbers available. If it's dire, call 911. But please put the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline phone number in your phone. And just remember, there's always hope. And thank you for joining us.